especially cardiac people, right? Because it helps with the blood pressure, the vessel tone, arrhythmia stuff, and just it's the number one mineral deficiency in America. So if you live in America and you're awake, get some magnesium.
Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who is out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode. Hey, welcome to The Exploding Human. My name is Bob Nickman. My guest today is Melanie Icard, and we're going to be talking about heart health. Melanie is the creator of the Biohacked Heart Blueprint and has been making waves by challenging the one-pill-fits-all narrative that's so common with cardiovascular health. Melanie empowers people to take control of their heart health and quality of life, combining her background in respiratory therapy and integrative medicine, employing protocols to reduce or eliminate plaque. So let's jump into this. This is Melanie Icard. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. You're in Arizona. I'm in Los Angeles. We're going to talk about heart health primarily, but we already got into some other stuff before we started. So this is going to be fun. And I know you're a naturopath and former respiratory therapist, or maybe I guess you still are. And we're going to talk a lot about heart health today.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of ended up in this on accident, had many interests. And I'm just amazed at how well the cardiovascular system can repair itself when given the right conditions.
You know, people talk about heart health and cardiovascular, exercise, and there's all kinds of pieces to it and the things that damage that system. But there's also, and we didn't talk about this before, but I want to talk about the emotional part of the heart. The wisdom that's in the heart. Let's talk about that for a second, because I think that'll probably inform some types of treatments.
Right. Well, I do have multiple clients that have come to me literally from broken heart syndrome, like after losing a spouse, So that is real. And obviously when we think about the heart, I mean, what do you think of? Love, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
but it also can hold hurt, right? It can have that opposite side, and I find that most of the people that come to work with me, they're these amazing people. They're survivors, right? They're often people that maybe raised one of their parents, left home when they were 13, and they just survived and survived, and now they maybe have an amazing business and they take care of their family. But there's this unconscious pattern that I've found that it's a unconscious survival pattern that's been running for decades.
Yeah, well, you hear the expression "a heavy heart." It's not necessarily a broken one, but it's just there's times where your heart is just hangs heavy inside your body. You can feel it. You can even feel it up into your throat sometimes. It's just it's a weight. It's a I don't know what the word would be. I guess a heaviness is really the right word.
Yeah.
And that obviously can affect how you feel emotionally, but also I'm sure it can affect the heart itself and how it performs.
Absolutely. And I'm sure through your work, you and your personal experience, you've come to find out that like almost everything in some way, in some aspect, is emotional, is mental, is spiritual, right? Because energy gets stuck, right? We don't want to stay in the emotions. We can't suppress them, because then we're actually hanging on to them, unconsciously, right? And they're giving us high blood pressure, or name your symptom.
Well, you think about all the different expressions around, heavy heart, heartbroken, my heart's racing, my heart's pounding.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many just sort of natural expressions we have around that. Also the gut, my stomach's churning,
It's a gut
Yeah.
punch. You hear all these things, and they're not accidents. They're expressions because that's where things happen, and we feel them.
Right. And we should feel them, and we should probably be listening to them, right? Because they're trying to give us signals. I think a lot of times, maybe, maybe I'm just talking about myself here, but we're so much in our head that we miss these signals because they say there's a wisdom in the body, like I'm sure you've met someone and maybe just got like, ooh, like got a kind of a bad feeling in your gut, right? And that's
Yeah.
the wisdom of your body saying, hey, maybe this isn't a great connection for you over here.
Well, that's something to listen to. Many more than one.
Yeah, because you know how God or the universe says it whispers, and then it's just kicking down the door.
So the people that come to you that have heart issues, is that sort of become your thing a little bit more than other things? What is it? What is
Right. And it's not that they all have heart issues. Maybe some have high blood pressure, and they don't want to be complacent with it, or they don't want to be on meds and they know that that's a risk factor. Some people come pretty darn healthy, more or less, but they have a family history or they don't even want to think about going there. And then there's people that have had major events and want to heal. And then there's people that they're like, hey, you're kind of full of plaque here, and they're like, okay, let's do something about this, right? Because I always recommend that they do this kind of work before putting a stent in their heart, right? Because I don't know if you're aware of this, but as soon as yes, it opens up something that needs to be open, but as soon as it's in there, it makes the body want to make more inflammation and more plaque. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword there.
See, I did not know that.
Yeah. So I always say, hey, if you're not a hot mess, more or less, and you're comfortable with it, I would ask for, hey, give me a couple months, do something like this, and reset your system. Because if you can, bypass that, it's going to be better for you. Because then you have to be, obviously there was things going on that led you to that plaque accumulation, but then the fix is going to lead to more plaque. You know what you see how it doesn't quite like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. How does someone reduce the plaque in their arteries? Diet obviously is a big part of it, but what else? What else can we do?
Right. So I found this a client of mine. This was born for him. Okay. He would only show up once a year. He wasn't that much of a health nut, just get on a health kick like once a year. And, was probably really one of my most naughty patients. He never listened to me or anything. He wants to do what he wants. And they said, hey, buddy, you've got all this plaque. We're going to have to put stents in your heart. And lucky for us, he was like, I don't think so. Give me 2 months. And then he came to see me and he said, I know I never listened to you, but I really don't want to do this procedure. So what do you got for me? Right. And I was like, okay, present. And then it just kind of came in like that, all these therapies that I had been doing, over the last 10 years, but in a certain combo and a certain pattern. And he actually did them. Right. And I couldn't believe it that he was excused from the procedure in 2 months' time. Like I literally couldn't believe it. Right. I was blown away. And what I had him do was learn how to monitor and balance his glucose and therefore his insulin. Right. I had him do an herbal detox, a nutritional detox, and then I had him do a certain combo of IV therapies, right? Which was ozone. I don't know if you're familiar with ozone. It's my absolute favorite of all time. And it's now evolved to include the UV light because we found that people's blood has been thicker, since the pandemic, just in the general population. So now we do extra instead of just ozone, we do ozone and UV, right? And then this IV called Plaque X, which is a blessing, and it's phosphatidylcholine, which is cool. It does do like it sounds, Plaque X, right? And it's good for the calcium too. But phosphatidylcholine is amazing too because all of our cell walls are made out of phosphatidylcholine. So this also makes every cell in your body work better. It cleans the liver, it cleans the kidneys. And since then we've evolved, the protocol to involve mind body medicine, stress, or nervous system reset, whatever term you can handle with, not being turned off, right, by it, and healing the gut, because a lot of inflammation comes from the gut. Oh, and I forgot one very important thing that we started off with. It's a mouthful. It doesn't sound fun. Anti-orbital ionic calcium therapy. I know it sounds terribly boring, but it's amazing because you can do this at home and it literally goes in and it'll just scoop up rogue calcium in your body. Maybe it's in your joints, giving you a bad shoulder, right? Maybe it's intracellularly and you're having kind of arrhythmias or pain syndromes like misfiring of calcium, right? But obviously, the big worry is like too much calcium in the arteries as well, right? So that's why we put him on it. And so that's a key, that's like a heavy lifter home therapy that's amazing. And I've just seen it repeatable. And the people that love it, if anybody has any arthritis or gout, their pain goes away. So you can't really feel your bones getting thicker because it'll put the calcium where it needs to go, or your calcium score in your arteries going down. But their arthritis and their gout goes away. And man, do they love that therapy. But I mean, the more I use it and the more I learn about it, just the more I love it. It's amazing.
I've never heard of that, and I'm very curious about it. Let's talk about it.
I'll send you a cool article.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I just shared one with my class this week, and it's got everything in there.
So what is the therapy a supplement? Is it an infusion?
So that one is a supplement. You can do it at home. Now it is available as IV. I've never done it as IV.
Okay.
It's available as a nebulizer. So I found out about it, Bob, at a natural anti-cancer seminar that I like to go to like every 2 years. And cancer's not my thing. It's kind of why I got into this because my mother died of cancer, and they started talking about this anti-orbital ionic calcium. I thought, boring, bathroom break, I'm out of here, right? Mm-hmm. And then they started slapping up before and after imaging with calcium adhesions gone, and before and after labs, right? But basically, this is also a anti-cancer therapy, right? That's why they were there, but it's also healing autoimmune diseases, right? And obviously, since it replenishes calcium where it's supposed to be, it's great. I would always encourage women, if you're having osteopenia, osteoporosis, skip the shots and all of that nonsense and just get on this and do some weightlifting, and it reverses itself.
Let's analyze that phrase,
orbital.
I know what anti is. Orbital. What's the orbital part?
Honestly, that? I'd have to pull up the diagram and look at it.
I'm glad that you don't know either.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the caveat, right? Here just don't. It's not a calcium supplement. I don't recommend calcium supplements. They're gunky.
That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
Okay.
They gunk stuff up. I actually say throw it in the garbage, like with your lipid lowering medication. But that's just a personal opinion.
I've had some education in that by someone who my wife broke her foot. Mm-hmm. The doctors said take a lot of calcium, and then this naturopath that we go to, she said, well, you don't want to do that. Like the old age homes are full of people that are getting worse because they're giving them calcium and they're not able to process it. It needs to be in conjunction with certain types of magnesium to work properly. And so she put my wife on a combination, which was actually more magnesium. I forget which magnesium it was. There's a bunch of different ones.
I love magnesium. I put everyone on magnesium.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. Magnesium, we raise our thumb up in the air and say yes.
Yeah. Especially cardiac people, right? Because it helps with the blood pressure, the vessel tone, arrhythmia stuff. And just it's the number one mineral deficiency in America. So if you live in America and you're awake, get some magnesium.
Okay, so there we go. The number one deficiency. And do they test for that in your annual physical? I say no. I don't.
I do.
Well, you do, but you're not covered by insurance. So that's one of the things
too that we have to do, right? We have to do the holistic labs because the conventional labs isn't really giving us really much of the whole picture. It's only like a small piece.
It's very perfunctory. It may lead to, something out of range, which might allow you to be referred to somebody else who can do some more extensive testing. But it's a long way to go when you could just do a more extensive blood panel, right away. It seems.
Right. And because there's been a lot of cholesterol focus, right?
You're
the cardiac
answering all my
space.
questions before I get to ask them. I love it.
Yeah. Right. And so, and I feel like, the simplest way I can say is like cholesterol is not the villain. it's a very well-meaning molecule, right? And it needs to be in balance, but the focus is not the cholesterol. I always tell when I'm educating, like, blaming the cholesterol is like blaming the firemen for being at all these burnt up houses. Like they must be starting these
Yeah.
fires because they're always there.
Okay. All right.
But I go down and I basically, it's kind of like stress, trauma, those emotions we were talking about, they're really at the top. Even grief, that's just really strong emotions and stress, right? And that goes down, and that's going to raise our cortisol. Now, that is the stress hormone, but again, if we don't have cortisol, we're dead, right? So we can't villainize the cortisol either. It's just like everything else where it wants to be in balance, right? um and then that goes down, and that's already going to raise up your glucose. So even if you're eating so good and you're intermittent fasting and all of that, a lot of the people I work with are running families or businesses. So they've got a lot of mental gymnastics going on before any food hits the mouth, right? So we're already dealing with people in general. And I think just we could say in society that already are having a lot of cortisol action, right? And our body doesn't know that this is in our imagination, right? The stress really, could we say, Bob, like, it feels so real to us, but we are also making it up in our head, right? Because it's all about perception. So our body doesn't know that this isn't an emergency for real and we need to run for our life. So it's saying, hey, let's kick out some glucose. We'll put it in the muscles so we can run away really fast, right? But this running away situation never happens, right? And we never, that we're consciously aware of, like, shut this down completely, unless you're, a Zen Buddhist monk, which I'm not yet. I don't know about you.
Oh, definitely.
You seem super Zen, Bob. But then this is all happening and going to the liver, right? Then the insulin goes up, which is very inflammatory. And I'm sure you guys talk about this, that like insulin resistance is a huge problem today.
Yeah.
And it's a culprit in, pretty much all chronic disease. And then the cholesterol comes out, right? Because one of the things that insulin does is it says, let's make some lipids. It doesn't, and it makes you fat. Like if anyone has a belly that you don't like and you're not sure what's going on, you probably have high insulin. You might want to get a fasting insulin check. So then you have some motivation to do some insulin balancing work in your life. And that should be not a diet. That should be a standard, right? If you want to live well, which I'm sure you do, if you want to, my whole passion right now with the cardiac work is just rejuvenating retirement, right? Because like getting older doesn't necessarily have to mean getting sicker. What if getting older just meant you were getting wiser and wealthier? That could be the future, right? Like having a bucket of pills and doctor dates could be the old way of getting older,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, most people kind of live themselves into the conditions that they have. They're not these forces that come in from the outside to attack old people. They're mostly created by the way we live, and not just what we're putting in, but what we're thinking and how we're acting and all those kinds of things. It's
what you watch on TV, if you watch TV or listen to music, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's it really is comes down to really paying attention to what works and what doesn't. And it's and if you don't know what works, ask yourself, is this working? Yeah. Each thing that you're doing, it doesn't take long to do that. I want to talk about cholesterol a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, the good cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, and then I'm hearing about the size of the cholesterol. And
there's stickier cholesterol,
some things that you don't even have to worry about, that maybe a doctor might say, oh, here's this number, get on, Lipitor like tomorrow.
Yeah. I hear this a lot because I talk to people, every day, obviously from all over the country. And it seems like, I don't know if they teach this in medical school or what, but it's like, take this, maybe Lipitor, fill in the blank, or you're going to die of a heart attack. It's like the hardest sell ever on the planet. it's really, really rough. And I don't believe that that's true. And I don't think that that's very nice. I think that if your cholesterol is raised, well, one thing is they've lowered what a high cholesterol is since we've
yeah.
gotten into, cholesterol lowering
Well,
medications, right?
you'd sell more statins that way. The more people,
It's a great business, right? Because it's not like an antibiotic where you're on it for a week. It's like 30 years, and then what about all the good things that we make cholesterol? Like, why do we have cholesterol, right? It's a repair molecule, right? It repairs like stress damage. So if you look at that circle, I wish I had my whiteboard here. I have it in Florida. It starts with stress, and we get cholesterol down there at the bottom, and then the triglycerides and meds forever. But cholesterol can go up and be a stress repair molecule, right? And it can make our sex hormones, which pretty much everybody's low in these days, and it can make our vitamin D, which pretty much everybody's low in these days, and it helps. Our brain loves cholesterol, our nerves love cholesterol, so it's just villainizing cholesterol is wrong. I don't get too upset about cholesterol. I do check for certain stickier molecules, because then I'll just add a little something to your protocol. But basically, the gut healing, the detoxing, the disinflaming, and balancing your glucose and insulin is going to backdoor fix this stuff, right?
Well, I love that. So if somebody comes to you and they go, "Oh, my doctor said I need to get on a statin. Here's my numbers," and you just look at the numbers, and then then what do? You say to them, well, let's look at what are the other things I guess it's some of what we've just been talking about, but you probably get people that come in and they're scared.
Yes.
They're open-minded.
Yeah, because of that hard sell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really scary. And even I had a patient that actually came to visit me in Florida, and she's already been through my program, and she knows this stuff, and had a huge loss. Her mother passed away. So grief, right? Huge stress, huge emotions. And then what happens with that? Then we go to those bad habits again, right? Like maybe we're hitting the wine or we're getting the fried food. And on top of that, right? So then she went and found that her cholesterol was a little high and her triglycerides were a little high. And they wanted to put her on, I want to say, can I say med names on here?
I guess so.
Okay, I'm always getting kicked off of social media, so I don't know. So Repatha, they wanted to put her on Repatha to lower that cholesterol, right? And bless her heart, but she's a lady that kind of like is really easy to get freaked out about stuff. I don't know if she, likes that kind of ride or whatever. And so she's like, well, she's thinking about doing, they're selling it really good. Well, hey, it's only every 2 weeks you have to do this injection, and it's going to lower those numbers. Right. And she wants to see those numbers lower because she's a very logical lady, but she's stuck right there. Well, then she goes and looks it up, and I couldn't believe this because I didn't know this until she told me. What is it made from? Okay. And all of these 3 words, I was like, okay, right. Are you ready? What is it made from? Chinese hamster ovary.
No.
And it's a forever prescription. So do you want to inject yourself with that every 2 weeks? Forever?
Wow.
To force down some numbers that probably don't need forced down, and you probably need to reset, get on a detox, balance your glucose and insulin, start moving, do something. I asked her, I said, what are you doing to relax? Blank face. Could you think of a few things that you could do to relax?
Didn't know, huh?
Blank face. I said, well, that's your homework. That's your homework. I'm going to give you something. Do you have a backyard? Okay. In the morning, I'm going to have you go stand in the backyard, maybe stick your feet in the grass and just look around and see if there's any birds in the backyard. We'll start with that. And then you let me know what you find out,
And a lot of people feel like, but I have so much to do. That's important.
Right.
It's more important than what you're saying in their mind. And you're
right.
Like,
this is I think this is maybe a collective narrative because I felt this way. Haven't you?
Yeah. Well, I know my wife does all the time still. I mean, she's getting really good at not doing
not
that.
Having time.
Well, yeah. But, we had 3 kids and schools and, all the stuff that you have as life goes on, the have-tos, and you want to do it right. And you want to be the best parent you can. And,
right.
And you want to have your job and business be successful. So You get
I
on
get
this
it.
train that is so fast
Doing.
moving,
Yeah.
and it's about fit how I feel rushed all the time,
Right.
and or just the things I want to do I put last
Right.
because I got to get the have tos done first, and so there's a miss,
And what can
out of
happen
balance.
then?
Yeah, and
Burnout, disease, you get
yeah.
sick. So at first it's like I don't have time for that. And then it's I don't have time to be this sick. you know,
Well,
right? So either way you're going to have to make time for it, because you're not going to want to be sick, right? And it's one of there's an old proverb, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And it's wonderful to have a career and be a family person, but like even on the airplane they say if this thing's going down, you better put your own mask on first or you're not going to be able to help your kid.
it does kind of start with an approach to living that may not be working anymore or maybe
Yeah.
never did, and it's and but then you feel, here's another thing, and I think this is probably typically American more so than other countries I
The
haven't lived.
hustle.
Yes,
Yeah.
the if I don't do it, somebody else will, and they'll quote get ahead, and I'll be left behind. And there's this idea of racing to nowhere. You're
Right.
just, and it's really easy
You
to
know what's
fall into it.
you know what's good is probably traveling, 'cause I was just talking to a client about this earlier, like, because, I work with a lot of business owners, a lot of mental gymnastics, and the same thing, what are you doing to relax? I said, well, like my husband, he's from Ecuador at the beach. Ecuador, equator vibes, beach vibes. There's like hammocks everywhere. Like those people at the beach, they know how to relax. Like they work hard when they're working, but like they know how to relax. Like, or even I remember years, it's been years since I went there, but I went to Spain and like, oh, they do like the siesta thing in the middle of the day. Like,
God, I love that. What a
right.
great.
And,
Oh,
and so just even the idea that it's like that it's an option, right? Because it is
right.
so busy being I'm an American, you're an American, right?
Yeah.
It's so
Well,
busy.
the thing about that is like everyone agrees in that culture to take that time off in the afternoon and rest. But you do that here, what are people going to call you? And how are you going to feel about yourself? Oh, I'm
Right.
lazy. Everyone
Yeah.
says I'm lazy. You take naps. My body
Right.
clock is one my whole life that it works for me to take a nap. It just works.
Oh,
I
you're a
can't tell you.
napper.
So, I can do it when I do, when I can do it and it works. I don't feel bad about it, but you know, um, I would be considered somebody, so the way I look at it is I get 2 days out of one.
Yeah.
I have the first part of the day that I do whatever I do. I take the nap and then I get a whole nother day.
Yeah.
And I still sleep at night. It doesn't wreck my sleep, but I guess some people maybe it does. I don't know.
There's a lot of bad sleepers out there, and they say that taking a nap can mess up their sleep. And there's a lot, and that's a key point thing too, because that causes a lot of oxidative damage and inflammation, the poor sleep. So we can't minimize the importance of sleep, right? Like that is one of these contributors to what could become high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, or whatever, you know. And one thing I'll give you one tip that's real if you try it. I learned this from my cousin. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner, right? It's like the oldest ancient East Indian healing technique tradition that we know of, right? And she said, you got to go to bed before 10 p.m., which I always do. I'm a grandma on the inside. I always have gone to bed at like 9 or 9:30, right?
Yeah.
But if you
I'm
go
the
to
same way.
are you okay? So
Yeah.
we're the same. And if you stay up after 10, there's a natural second wind that you get. And I know that because I never stay up after 10. But if somehow I randomly am, then I start doing stuff, which is so unlike me because I'm normally
Yeah.
sleeping, you know?
Well, I had a number of years that I lived at night.
Oh,
My jobs were in entertainment, and so I was up
okay.
and I was working. I was working in nightclubs mostly, of different
Mm-hmm.
different things, and then I was working in television, which required staying up very late to
Oh,
finish
wow.
things for the next day. So I lived at night for a very long time.
Did that
Uh,
affect your health?
um, Probably.
Not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any like sort of big chronic health problems, but I was I think my mental state was affected by it. I mean, I know it was. And so and there's also a tendency when you live at night to get into some bad habits,
True,
you know.
true. I don't know if you know this, but you can, if you're a nerd and you like to look up studies, there's just more disease in night shift workers, right? Because it's opposite of our
Yeah.
natural rhythm, right? And so I am highly encouraging all of my clients to be done eating by the time the sun goes down, right? And any action, like if you like to work out, I love that. Could you do it before the sun goes down, right? Work, stuff like that,
Yeah.
because it's just more natural, right? Like you've gone camping, like in a tent before, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And when the sun goes down, you're kind of wrapping it up, right? Go to
Yeah, you're
bed.
done because there's no
Yeah.
artificial light to do stuff by.
Yeah. And
Electricity
so
is a
just,
great thing, isn't it? But not for that.
yeah. And even like I have friends, I'm not this hardcore yet, but they even do candlelight in the evening. Like they don't even have artificial light. And it sounds kind of romantic, but I that goals for later in 2026.
Yeah,
I'll do candlelight.
that's some advanced health right there.
Right. But you got to make sure you don't get the toxic candles
Oh,
that are
yeah,
going
right.
to damage your air.
There's nothing worse than a stinky candle. Well, wow, this is really great. I love the fact that you're helping people in this particular way. It's it's kind of like when I had a meniscus problem many years ago, and I went to this orthopedic guy, and he did the MRI. Let's schedule the surgery. I go, well, I'll get back to you, right? So I never got back to him, by the way. I went to my chiropractor, nutritionist, and she said, why don't you do the rehab you would do? This is kind of what you're talking about with what you did with that man, for his heart. Do the rehab you would do after the surgery, before the surgery, and see what happens. And it fixed everything. I never had the surgery.
I love that because I'm sure, I don't know if you've had any surgeries, but just as a casual observer, a lot of times people kind of wish they didn't get it.
I always think that it's the last thing that you want to do in any situation. Try to do anything else you can, because once you cut things, you can't uncut them.
Yeah.
So, and you can't, it's invasive, even just sort of
Don't
cutting into the
jump to go under
bodies.
the knife.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're physically being cut, but there's also an energetic slicing of that energy.
The aura, the energy around us gets cut when we have surgery,
You can
and
feel
that
it.
takes a very long time to come back
Yeah.
together.
Well, I had hernia surgery years ago, and I felt it. I felt like I've been
Mm.
violated.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. Not, in some way. I mean, it
Yeah.
fixed it and I needed it. There was really not a choice,
Yeah. Those
but
hernias.
yeah, it was not great. So, but then I had it, but then it took me, I mean, I could feel like I say, I felt like violated, invaded upon.
Yeah.
Even though I needed to have it fixed, I just felt strange, like vulnerable in a way that I did not like, just like, and I'm not even super woo woo, energy field aura guy,
But
but
something was off.
well, I knew it. I knew I could feel it. I'm like,
Yeah.
so I'm at least was sensitive enough to sort of understand what that was, what was going on. But it's kind of like when you have any kind, it's a trauma. And when you have a trauma, it takes a while to rebuild.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about the healing part of the surgical part, but everything else.
Right. And that's what I was going to say too about the not making time for ourselves. A lot of times that is like an old trauma response, because like the busyness and like keeping moving and keeping busy, we're needing to control a lot of things to feel safe. Like that's an old trauma response, that you maybe needed to have in the past, but is, not helping you currently to thrive.
Well, yeah, being busy can be a survival tool to not have to look at something that's really difficult. And especially if you're not ready to look at it, it's probably a valuable thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think human beings, I mean, this is not an original thought, but we don't do anything unless we're getting something out of it.
Right. Yeah. There's a why there. Yeah.
So I'm getting something out of this, if this is actually helping me in some way, or I think it's helping me in some way. And a lot of times it does. And a lot of times it stops helping and it turns and it's a detriment. But you haven't changed your mental attitude about it.
Yeah, and that's been coming up a lot, I think, for me in my work with clients and everything, is there's these unconscious identities that we're so comfortable in.
Another thing I was told, which was that whenever human beings are scared or confused, they go backwards to what they know. Because they don't know where to go, really. So there's a comfort, even if it's not a good thing for you. At least you know what it is.
Yeah.
And to step into something that, the unknown can be kind of frightening unless you have some.
It is frightening. It is frightening. Like I'm thinking about sometimes too when people do something and they experience like a big relaxation. Like maybe they come to one of the meditations that we have or something, right? And sometimes for people, they like it, but they feel scared because they're not used to that.
Yeah.
That feeling. Yeah.
Or they don't feel they don't deserve it.
Yeah.
It's for other people. It's not, there's going to be a downside to it later.
Right.
So we're such interesting creatures that way.
Yeah. I've like, that's my wish for everybody that you know that you deserve peace and relaxation and you're worthy of it. And you don't have to do anything to earn it. Nothing. It's yours.
I had a funny moment with my wife. She wanted me to, this is a very tiny thing. She said, can you go back to the alley and sweep the leaves back there and clean up back there? And I said, and then she goes, and then later she goes, did you do that? And I said, no. She goes, why not? I go, because I didn't want to and I didn't care about it. And she kind of goes, okay. Now that isn't the response every time, but that was such a great moment because I really I was like, I listened. You care about it. The only reason I would do it was because you care about it and it would make you happier, sort of. You're not really genuinely happier, but you would like it. But I really just didn't want to do it. So am I an asshole or am I, am I in self-care? Am I selfish or, what is it? Because it just was something I can't, it's just so unimportant to me right now. It's so far down a list.
Got a hard no on that.
Well, it was that day. I mean, I've done it before where I went, okay, like sometimes it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was just such a, I guess my point is that you have to know in the moment, is that going to work?
Yeah.
Sometimes even when you don't want to do something, it will actually be of benefit to do it anyway. But sometimes it's not. And so, those kind of little decisions. And I picked something very innocuous to sort of talk about that because I think some people have trouble, including myself, of knowing when you should do something for your benefit or another person's benefit when it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I do get a lot of over givers. I get a lot of givers, which I love that. I love givers, but the problem is that I see with some of them is they're not receiving and they're not like, where are you being supported? And they'll even say, no one supports me, right? But they're giving a lot out. So it's like the lab values. It's all about that balance, right?
Yeah, and not only there's no one's giving to me, I'm resentful about it because I give so much. So then you've got some resentment built up because the world's not responding in the way that they should in your mind. It's like, well, it's unfair. People just don't care. They're really awful, and I've done all these things, and it's and it's like, well, no one asked you to do it. You chose to do it, and if not, you get no reward for it, then if that's the
Yeah.
reason you're doing it, then that's not probably the reason to do it, you know.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I heard a wonderful story from a woman today that she was saying how she just used to be really negative, worried about everything all the time, controlling. She had a teenage daughter that wouldn't talk to her. Her and her husband were having a bad marriage, and then she went into this workshop and started doing this work on herself and just let go, somehow was able to let go of this worry habit and like these controlling patterns of behavior that weren't helping her. And now, same husband, absolutely loves him. They get along great. They've been married like 37 years. Same daughter. They talk all the time. They have a great relationship. So, like, she didn't swap out her kid or her husband, but everything changed when she changed and changed her perspective and interactions. I thought that was beautiful.
Wonder what kind of family she grew up in. It sounds like maybe she had alcoholic parents or something like that.
Right. Yeah, there's always something. I don't know if anyone had like got like the ones that were ready for the job. I mean, I know I didn't. The one that I'm healing from is that I always had a really strong value of freedom, right? Freedom, because I didn't want to get stuck. Like I saw, adults that took care of me, right? I didn't want to get stuck. So had to be freedom. But that what was the cost? It was the cost of you know, deep connections, right? Because I don't want to get stuck. I got to be, I got
Yeah.
my suitcase packed under the bed just in case I got to get out of here,
Sure,
and
yeah.
all of that. And then with the freedom, I avoided systems. Systems seem like jails, right? Where actually systems give you more freedom, right? And so as I've gotten older and done my own evolution, I've released freedom because I like, it's been done, it's not my number one thing. And now it's all about contentment and being full of faith, like trusting.
Yeah, it's also what your idea of freedom was back at that point. It was not any type of entanglement or commitment to something. That was, that would not be freedom.
Yeah.
But it actually, like you were saying, sometimes that is actually more rewarding. You don't want to pick the wrong thing to commit to, that's for sure. But sometimes that's a good lesson too, though. It's like now I know one thing I don't
Don't
want.
like that.
That took a toll.
Oh, I think we've all done that a time or two.
Of course, that's just part of the whole thing. You were talking about workshops or teaching that you do. You want to talk a little bit about that, and maybe is it available to anyone online?
Yes.
What goes on
Yeah.
there?
I teach all over the country. So you don't have to come to Scottsdale, Arizona, although it's lovely right now. I do recommend it. So we have different levels of support. So a lot of people that do the coaching, they live in Alaska, they live in New York, wherever. I mean, just people are weaning off of their blood pressure meds in the first month. Like the fellas are losing like 25 pounds in the first month. Like huge people that could barely go check their mail are going on hikes with their family now. And that's just through the coaching. Obviously, the heavy lifting, which if you're really trying to get rid of plaque or being
Yeah.
really preventative, would require coming to Scottsdale, Arizona. So we have a masterclass on my website, drmelanieicard.com, and you just click, you can watch it, kind of understand about our work. And then I also have a fun thing coming up that we're going to have a 4-day Sedona Biohacked Heart Retreat. So we're going to wrap everything into a 4-day weekend for the people that want to do the IVs but don't want to come to Arizona for that long. And that's going to have a lot of really special things in it that are only going to be available at that retreat, because I just want to share a lot of these tools with people that they haven't been exposed to that can quite possibly really enhance their life.
So on your website, is it DR or is it
Yep,
DOC?
DR.
Okay.
Melanie Icard, ICARD.com. Yeah. And then there's the masterclass on there. It's only 20 minutes. It's not boring. And you kind of get an idea of what we do and other wins that people have had.
Well, there you go, folks. That's where you want to go to find out more about this wonderful program that you've put together. And maybe something will help you that you
Right.
didn't even know about.
Yeah, it's holistic. So if you don't want to be on meds, and what I've found is that it's efficient and it can be repeatable. If you show up and work the protocol, it's going to work for you.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be 72 this month.
Oh my gosh, you look great.
Oh, well, thank you. I wasn't fishing for that, but I'll take it.
Yeah, why not?
You know how many medications I'm on?
I
None.
hope it's zero. Yeah.
It's zero. It's zero. So, and I'm not even, some sort of Superman health guy, but I do more than most.
Right.
And a lot of it's what I don't do.
Right.
So, the elimination of sugar was a huge piece of it. Well, not easy. That took the longest actually to sort of extricate myself from. And I don't eat junk food, and I exercise, and there's certain foods that don't agree with me, and they may agree with other people. I don't do them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and my wife and I eat differently because
Okay.
we're different people. There's some crossover, but there's some stuff that I can have that she just can't have it, and vice versa. So it's kind of an interesting thing how you can focus on your own body and your own metabolism and your own, you're kind of your own test tube that way.
Yeah. And you know what I have everybody do too is do continuous glucose monitoring. I feel like it gives you this window that because we can just legitimize anything we want to in our mind, right? But then
Yeah.
you see in real time,
Yeah.
oh, maybe that wasn't a great snack for me. Or you can go back and Nancy Drew what you just took in and see how you could make that better. And I find that it's the best for patient compliance because I can tell them do XYZ all day long. But when they see it in real time, it's like a video game and they win.
So, yeah. How do people monitor glucose? Is there well, I don't know. I don't know
You
this.
put this little sensor, you pop it on the back of your arm, right? And then you put an app on your phone. I always recommend people get a big sticker to put over that so it doesn't pop off. And then you'll get your baseline. So then that'll give us something. Well, where are you hanging out at? Right. Because if you're hanging out at 120 and not, below 100, then we probably want to, get some extra things on board. Right. Like maybe some berberine, and our goal and whatever your baseline is, here's one tip, just if you want to do it. This is the best thing to start with. Whenever you eat, it just shouldn't go up more than 30 points. If it goes up more than 30 points, something was a little excessive with that meal. Look at it. I have one guy that he found whenever they sneak some seed oil into something,
Yeah.
spikes his blood sugar like crazy. He's very seed oil sensitive. And one time he didn't think he would eat anything and his blood sugar went up and he found his blue cheese container. It was a blue cheese like substance made from canola oil.
Wow, that's
But
fascinating.
he never would have found that if he wasn't wearing the thing and then getting curious.
That was funny. My wife and my daughter and I were eating at this healthy restaurant. So we thought it was, a lot of salads and steamed chicken and different things. And my wife and my daughter both went, I don't feel good. There's something in this food. I didn't have this reaction. I mean, I didn't love it, but it was, supposedly healthy. So we went inside and asked them, what do you cook this in? It was all seed oil stuff, everything.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
And, they weren't advertising that that's what they did. They were selling themselves as, a healthy meal.
Yeah.
And so there's a sensitivity that at least those two have more than I do, but it was, I try to stay away from that stuff. But so this is there, I want to go back to this app that you're talking about. Is there something you recommend for glucose?
Yeah,
monitoring?
they go right to consumers. So it's super easy. It's called Stelo, STELO. So you can go to their website and they can just ship it right to your house. Put the app on your phone and do it at least a month. But sometimes at first I have people do it for 2 months because at first you're gonna get a lot of surprises, like things that you thought were good for you. You're gonna be like, oh wait, what's going on here?
So you leave the sensor on all day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then
it's for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks, and you check it out. And how long after you eat do you check? So before,
well, I like to check before, like where am I at? So I have to take breaks from it because I get obsessed with it. And my husband's like, you need to take weighing a break yourself from it.
When you're, yeah, I know. It's
yeah. But so, and people tell me, I love it. I'm addicted, but I just look at it before and then I look at it after and I look at it like a little bit after. And if you do see it going up, you're like, whoa, maybe too many potatoes or whatever. Get up and do 30 squats and you'll see it go down like that, like that. So if you did kind of make a bad decision, you can just get up and immediately get that glucose into the muscles where it's useful and bring the blood sugar down.
Squat your way into good health.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. What a wonderful afternoon we've had together talking about health and heart health and all kinds of stuff I didn't plan on, which is always my favorite.
And I just want to say this because the thing is, plaque does not have to be forever. I know that people are told that repeatedly, but I've seen repeatedly that it can be reversed. So when given the right conditions, the body can heal itself.
That is a powerful and important message. So thank you for that. Have a fantastic evening, and best of luck in your continued career as a healer.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed this.
Me too. Thank you. Much appreciation for you folks listening to The Exploding Human. The website is theexplodinghuman.com. You can also listen on YouTube. That is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. Once again, I want to thank Melanie Icard for being on the show. Have a fantastic day. Thank you.